KPBS On Demand is supported by Zocalo Public Square, presenting a panel discussion and screening with food and drinks, exploring the history of deportation with MacArthur geniuses Alex Rivera and Kelly Little Hernandez at Bread and Salt on December 13th. Sign up for no cost at zps.la/KPBS.
Good morning, I'm Lawrence K. Jackson. It's Monday, December 8th. An overnight safe parking program will close due to a lack of funding. More on that next, but first, the headlines. The Marine killed last Wednesday in a tactical vehicle incident at Camp Pendleton has now been identified. Private First Class Tanner Rubio was 21 years old and had been in the service less than a year. Rubio was a rifleman at 1st Battalion, 1st Marine Regiment, who joined the Corps in January. In a statement, the 1st Marine Division says his death Wednesday occurred during training unrelated to the ongoing exercise Steel Night at the base. The Marines aren't saying what type of vehicle was involved or the nature of the incident, citing an ongoing investigation. Tactical vehicles are heavy with high centers of gravity, making them prone to rollovers. More than 100 troops across the military have been killed in tactical vehicle crashes since 2010. Poway Westview High School senior Leanne Fan has been chosen as an alternate to serve as an honorary representative for the state of California. This is all part of the 64th annual United States Senate Youth Program. Being chosen is considered a huge honor as students are nominated by their school's principal. The program's website says students chosen will get a closer look into the U.S. Senate and federal government. The program's goal is to provide encouragement for those considering a future in public service. All students chosen will be recognized during a meeting in January. Student leaders each receive a $10,000 undergraduate scholarship and an all-expenses-paid trip to Washington, D.C. Bat conservation is taking a step forward in San Diego. The San Diego Humane Society recently shared news of successfully rehabilitating and now releasing a hoary bat. The difference with this release is that for the first time ever, that bat is equipped with a MODIS tracking device. Basically, it's bat GPS. The news marks the first time a hoary bat has been outfitted with the technology in Southern California. And with a wildlife tracking tower located nearby, researchers hope to get valuable information about where the bat is heading next. The Humane Society says hoary bats are known for their long-distance migration, and due to this, their habitats and seasonal movements are less understood. The adult male bat was rescued during a storm on November 14th and then released in Carlsbad last Sunday. From KPBS, you're listening to San Diego News Now. Stay with me for more of the local news you need.
KPBS On Demand is supported by San Diego Congregations of the United Church of Christ, a community where Christmas is the story of a love greater than all that makes us despair. Learn more at sandiegoucc.org.
The safe parking program in Encinitas is ending. Jewish Family Services runs the program and says it will close at the end of the month. North County reporter Alexander Wen looks into why.
The safe parking program is operated at the Encinitas Community and Senior Center parking lot. It has spaces for up to 25 cars each night, serving people who live in their cars.
I feel bad for them because I think they need a place to go.
Greg Trachtenberg lives around the corner from the lot and plays basketball at the community center every day. He's sad the program is ending.
I don't know if it's a money thing, but I thought it was really working pretty well. It's been here for a couple of years.
Encinitas Mayor Bruce Eller says it was a money thing. The city had offered to fund the program for a 6-month extension. Jewish Family Service says that wasn't sustainable. The agency had asked the city for a 1-year contract, costing $610,000. According to JFS, in October, 17 people used the lot. The only other safe parking program in North County is in Vista. That is also operated by JFS. Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
A recall petition targeting a Grossmont Union High School district board trustee failed to get enough signatures. East County reporter Elaine Alfaro says the recall effort was a move against the board's conservative majority.
Critics of the four-member board majority were hoping to oust trustee Scott Eckert in a special election, but didn't gather enough signatures before last month's deadline. Eckert and other members of the majority have drawn fire for eliminating librarian positions and advocating for controversial school prayer and protest policies. Laura Preble is a recall leader and a retired librarian.
We feel very strongly that these people are not there in the best interests of students or teachers or community members.
Eckert declined an interview request and sent an emailed statement. Quote, "Since taking office, my full attention has been on the work I was elected to do, raising graduation rates, promoting safety, and ensuring East County taxpayers' dollars are wisely invested to create opportunities for all students to thrive." End quote. Stephanie Macheka is vice president of the Teachers Union. She says opponents of the board majority are now focused on next year's elections.
We've started way earlier than we normally do for an election cycle this year.
3 of the board's 5 seats are up for election next year. Elaine Alfaro, KPBS News.
San Diego's Midway Rising project was delayed once again in recent weeks, extending the timeline on the $4 billion development north of the San Diego International Airport. Public Matters reporter Jake Gata has the story of how we got here and what's next.
The San Diego Sports Arena, now called Pechanga Arena, is surrounded by a big, mostly empty parking lot. Cars fly by on the freeway on one side and along Sports Arena Boulevard on the other. And the rest of the area is filled with warehouses, auto body shops, and big box stores with more huge parking lots. Midway Rising, a major housing development, aims to revitalize this area. It's a key piece of Mayor Todd Gloria's plan to boost housing production, especially affordable housing. Here's Gloria speaking at a recent press conference.
It will be the largest affordable housing project in California history, and we are proud, but not surprised, that that's happening right here in San Diego.
It's been in the works for years now and was recently pushed back again by a court ruling. The issue is a coastal height limit that was approved by voters in 1972. It prohibits buildings taller than 30 feet. The city rezoned the entire Midway area in 2018 to allow 10,000 new homes and did the review required by the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA. But the city also wanted to exempt the area from the height limit to facilitate projects like Midway Rising. Here's what Councilmember Jen Campbell told KPBS in 2020.
It can become not only an area for a new sports or entertainment arena, but also a vibrant transportation, residential, commercial, recreational, and employment area.
The city put forward a ballot measure in 2020 to remove the height restriction, and a majority of San Diego voters approved it, but not area resident John McNabb. He leads a small organization called Save Our Access that challenged the height limit exemption in court.
Save Our Access filed this lawsuit because of the severe impacts that this project would have on San Diego.
The lawsuit claimed the city's initial environmental report didn't study the potential impacts of tall buildings, and the courts agreed. So the city went and studied the impact of tall buildings. Voters reapproved the measure in 2022, and Save Our Access sued again, saying the city essentially had to redo the whole environmental report to include tall buildings, and the courts once again agreed. Over the sound of cars on the highway, McNabb says his primary concern is traffic from Midway Rising.
You put 150,000 to 200,000 people here, you freeze the freeways. The north-south corridor people take every day.
The development team says they are working with the city and transit agencies to reduce reliance on cars for the project. That includes building things like bike lanes and walking paths. McNabb isn't convinced.
You're going to jam and cram all these people in here. What are the impacts to the quality of life of everybody?
He said he wouldn't support Midway Rising even if it was built below 30 feet. UC Davis law professor Chris Elmendorf said the city believed its first environmental report was sufficient and argues the courts should have deferred to that analysis.
That's the only way that CEQA can be implemented in a manner that allows like a modicum of predictability for the city.
Elmendorf says the state legislature has passed laws in recent years to minimize what he calls CEQA abuse.
For the court just to say, none of that has any bearing on whether we interpret CEQA in a way that allows one rando who doesn't like dense housing to hold it up for a decade. Like, that's insane.
But former San Diego Planning Director Bill Fulton said the courts probably ruled how they did because the issue was a ballot measure.
The judge made that point very, very clear, that particularly in the case of a ballot measure, the public needed to know all of the potential environmental impacts, not just those that had been previously discussed.
Mayor Gloria says the city is going to appeal the decision to the California Supreme Court. Legal experts say that case could make it easier or harder for cities to fulfill CEQA's requirements. But the Midway Rising project has another tool it may use to exceed the 30-foot height limit regardless. The development team said the state's density bonus law lets them build higher than that threshold because the project includes affordable housing. The timeline on Midway Rising, however, has been extended even further as the city and the developers reevaluate their path forward. Jake Gata, KPBS News.
Last November, a TikTok video made Marigold Bagels so popular that the business had to move up plans to expand from a booth at a farmer's market to an actual storefront. Arts reporter Beth Accomando says a year later, Marigold Bagels is finally open at its new North Park home.
Mike Rabinowitz is an organic chemist by training, but he decided to retire to try his hand at making authentic New York bagels. Now he's taking the next step and opening a storefront in North Park.
It's terrifying. I've never done this before. This is a whole new industry to me. But I actually surrounded myself with really good people, so it's a little less terrifying.
He signed the lease for the El Cajon Boulevard location last December.
Well, I love North Park. It's a great location, surrounded by great stores, fun mom and pop places, just have a great vibe.
Having his own place rather than renting a ghost kitchen means less hassle and more bagels for customers.
And so this will allow us as many people as we can hire, as big of a mixer as we can buy. We had to set numbers, right? So how do you know how many people are going to show up the first day? You don't know what your demand is going to be. We had to guess. So we guessed at 750 bagels.
That may not be enough for a city that's been without Marigold Bagels for months. But at least now, there'll be a steady supply of its New York-style bagels. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
All right, SDNN listeners, today is yet another episode of The Pod Behind the Package. Once per week, I'll bring in a reporter, anchor, or a video journalist for a behind-the-scenes deep dive and informal chat. Joining me this week is North County reporter Alexander Wen on his story on our site under the headline, Carlsbad moves forward on banning e-bikes for kids 12 and under. Wen and I are both graduates of Syracuse University. Yeah, Alexander Wen, my brother and alumni, is here. Talk to me a little bit, Wen, about the impact SI Newhouse for Public Communications had on you in your career.
Newhouse is how I got here because previous to that, I didn't. My undergrad was not in communication; it was in theater and philosophy with a little minor in journalism. And then I felt like I was getting stuck in my career, so Newhouse is when I went to get my master's, and through that. I got a job at NBC, and then that got me here. So
Gotcha. Absolutely. Transitioning now to your piece on Carlsbad banning e-bikes for kids 12 and under. According to city data, right, since 2022, there have been 9 e-bike crashes for kids 12 and under in Carlsbad. You spoke with Skylar, one of the voices in your story, who saw a crash firsthand. Is this something that he said he sees often, or did he reference just that one crash?
Skylar does see these kids doing dangerous things, going down the street in Carlsbad Village. So it is something that happens a lot for him to reference it. And he says, my kids will never, ever ride an e-bike because of what he sees.
Gotcha. Yeah. And, e-bikes are interesting to me right now because I don't know if you can remember, like me, a few years back. You remember when hoverboards were getting popular?
Oh, yeah.
And we all thought we were the Jetsons and we were like, oh, man, the car is old news. I'm just going to hoverboard everywhere. And then the accidents started happening, and then they were immediately illegal, and then the fines came in. It seems like e-bikes now are that topic, right, where people are seeing underage kids out of control going against cars, and they want to stop it, right?
Yeah, and I mean, when we talk about e-bikes, for people who are not familiar, they're not your typical, pedal bikes of old, because you remember as a kid, that's the best Christmas gift you can get is that bicycle.
Nothing better.
But these bikes can go up to 20 miles an hour, and for Class 3 bikes, they could go up to 45 miles per hour, which, by the way, is illegal for kids under 16 to drive those Class 3 e-bikes anyway. So these e-bikes are just not the typical pedal bikes that parents got when they were kids. So I think a lot of parents don't realize how fast they go. But it's also how people in North County get around because Carlsbad is so spread out. And other parts of North County is that if you want to see your friends who lives maybe a mile or two, away, you need to get on an e-bike. You can't just, pedal like a mile away because these streets are wide and they're farther away than your typical just neighborhood going from one person's house in the suburbs to another.
Do they see these e-bikes as almost a way of their freedom being taken away? Like they see it like, hey, this is just how I get around Carlsbad. I'm not really trying to get into an accident. I just want to get to my friend's house. When you talk to people in Carlsbad who were for it, you talked about the 550 people submitted comments supporting the ban, but maybe for those 25 to 50 people, whatever the minority amount of people, when they said they were for keeping it, what was their defense? Was that part of their defense saying, hey, my kid needs to get over to his friend's house. It's a mile and a half away. I can't drive him there and back. This is what his e-bike's for.
Yeah, and that's what the city council, a lot of them do have younger kids in that age range, and they say, well, I can't drive them all around, and these kids needs to go from school back home, and these kids needs to go to visit their friends, these kids needs to go to, soccer practice, after-school sports, stuff like that. So they are not interested in banning bikes at all, but if you're under 12 years old, maybe these are not for you. Maybe possibly a pedal bike as a start, but e-bikes, let's make them 12 and older. And again, this is a pilot program by state law, so it's only in San Diego County, so it's not statewide. And a lot of cities in San Diego are starting to adopt it.
Gotcha. So the difference really is that motor. When you talk, can you go over the different types of bans?
All right, so the proposed ordinance includes like banning anybody from 12 and under from riding a e-bike, and then anybody's 12 and under cannot have passengers with them riding that e-bikes. And then for e-bikes type 3, it's already illegal for anyone 16 and under from riding those bikes. So they're also looking at an ordinance to see if they can ban anybody from 16 and under from riding a Class 2 e-bikes. And that is something that came out of Marin County. So they're looking into it. They may not be able to legally, so we'll see.
And talk to me one last time, Alexander, a little bit about the education impact, where for a lot of these places that they've put these restrictions or these bans in place, there is usually a grace period of time where they're going to pull somebody over and they're going to say, hey, stop speeding on your e-bike, no more wheelies, and then they give them a warning or some sort of educational impact versus just instantly fining. Is that correct?
Yeah, so that is one of the things that Carlsbad is proposing, is that, there is a grace period of, I believe, 60 days before you can ticket. And then within the first 6 months, that ticket could go away if they attend a safety class on e-bike safety. So that is some of the things that the city is discussing, and I think that will make it into the final ordinance once they write it and vote on it.
All right, we will wait and see on what's next as far as any e-bikes and Carlsbad. Thank you, Alexander Wen, with us on Pod Behind the Package. That is it for the podcast today. As always, you can find more San Diego news online at kpbs.org. I'm Lawrence K. Jackson. Thanks for listening and subscribing. By doing so, you're supporting public media, and I thank you for that. Have a great day.
KPBS On Demand is supported by ACLU of San Diego and Imperial Counties. The work of the ACLU is about closing the gap between the America that was promised and the America that is. Learn more at www.aclu-sdic.org.